All right, Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachakwadash. Also want to give double honors to my apostles and elders at Great Millstone, and honors to all you fellow laborers that are kicking this word in sincerity and in faith. Yah Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachakwadash, Barakatham, to all you sincere listeners. Yes, I want to go into a lesson on the deterioration of Babylon, the downfall of the so-called white man, the downfall of America. So I'm going to just get right into it. Play this video, read a couple of articles, and hit some precepts. Lord's will is edifying.
The president has hailed Turkey's stance on unilateral U.S. sanctions on the Islamic Republic, saying Washington will no longer be able to dictate its terms on regional countries.
The stances of Turkey and Mr. Erdogan in the face of the conspiracy of the U.S. sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran have been very good and decisive ones. And in fact, most of our neighboring countries, including Turkey, have explicitly announced to the Americans that the era of dictating policies by the United States and others has come to an end, and the United States, from thousands of kilometers away, is unable to dictate its policies on the regional nations and governments.
Right. Which is why Esau's doing this. All right, Trump plans full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria. Yeah, because they can't get a foothold in there. They're being defeated. The so-called white man over here in America in particular is being defeated. And even them other European nations, the Edomite controlled areas in Europe, they know that you can't just be dictating what goes on around the world, which is why they're trying to be more on board with these so-called people of color nations. For instance, with Syria, you had a lot of members of the EU that were speaking against America and France being up in there because they understand what's happening. Yet the pride of the so-called white man over here in America is just unprecedented. That's why it says that he had a look that was more stout than his fellows. Talks about how everybody, all these other nations, he would puff at them. But now you're going down. Even with your pride. All right, so Trump plans full withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria. Administration nears end of campaign to retake territory once held by ISIS as Trump tweets, "We have defeated ISIS in Syria," which there ain't no we in that because America wasn't doing nothing. That was the Syrian Defense Forces. They've been doing all the work. And you have Americans that are actually trying to ferment more dissent that are actually working with ISIS. Yet it's not working. So now he's trying to save face and get up out of there. That's the real breakdown. All right, Donald Trump is reported to have ordered a full rapid withdrawal of the 2,000 U.S. troops in Syria, declaring victory over the Islamic State and taking allies and his own advisors by surprise. Yeah, because it came out of nowhere because he just accepted defeat. That's really what it is. I'm going to jump down a little bit. Soon afterward, the White House spokeswoman, Sarah Sanders, that ugly, decrepit, demonic-looking so-called white woman, Edomite, put out a statement saying that troop withdrawal marked the start of the next phase in the struggle with ISIS and suggested they could return if necessary, which that don't even make no sense. That's the next phase of a struggle, you withdrawn from the battle? That sound like defeat. You're accepting defeat. I'm not going to read this part. The U.S. and our allies stand ready to re-engage at all levels to defend American interests whenever necessary, and we will continue to work together to deny radical Islamist terrorist territory, funding, support, and any means of infiltrating our borders. Trump has called for immediate withdrawal before, but had previously been persuaded by allies and his advisors, Salakia, to stay on to finish the fight against ISIS and to contain Iran. Right, which is why I just played what the president of Iran said. So that matches up. He said that the same day that America's withdrawing its forces because America's losing. Hey, just like when Antiochus went into Iran over 2,000 years ago, and that was the beginning of his fall. This is the fall of the so-called white man right now, going over to the so-called Middle East. All right, the Gulf region and those neighboring countries trying to conquer. Because unbeknownst to the so-called white man who's over there fighting, or he thinks he's just over there to be a patriot to his country. The Lord got them troops over there just to bring judgment upon him during World War III. His own administration believes that ISIS still has a residual but significant presence inside Syria. French President Macron had made it a national priority to persuade the U.S. president to keep troops in Syria as a bulwark against an ISIS resurgence and thought he had won the argument. Trump's own national security advisor, John Bolton, is adamantly opposed to the decision for different reasons. He declared in September, we're not going to leave as long as Iranian troops are outside Iranian borders, and that includes Iranian proxies and militias. And let me get this, actually. The Defense Secretary, James Mattis, had also argued against a sudden withdrawal, arguing the troops served a vital national interest by maintaining the offensive against residual ISIS pockets and a signal of intent not to cede Syria to Iranian control. Yeah, and that's what they have in their mind. All right, well, look, Iran and Hezbollah is going to have more of an influence, which the Iranian president said, look, man, this ain't for you to decide. Stay your ass over there. All right, so this is 2nd Ezra 16 and 18, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. That's right. There's powers here in America that are standing in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Yet I wanted to concentrate on that. The power shall stand in fear, which is why Esau's scrambling right now. Because all these nations are rising up against him. And I'm going to get that in the book of Habakkuk. But I'm going to get this first, Ecclesiastes 12 and 1. Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. That's right. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, which is what's happening right now. Like I said in 2nd Ezra, the power shall stand in fear. Esau's getting all shook up. Like that Elvis Presley song, I'm all shook up. Esau's getting shook up, man, from the foundation. Because all these nations are coming against him. And this is the time, pertaining to the first verse, that you're supposed to remember the Creator. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, this is the time to get the truth. Because you see your enemy is falling. So-called white man who's been our enemy from the womb, he's falling right now. In fact, let me get this in Syria, 25th chapter. In this word, the word of the Heavenly Father is what's bringing them down ultimately. Because that vibration, that spirit of the so-called white man going down, we're pushing that out, man, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. When I say we, I'm talking about the apostles, the elders, and the brothers who are the prophets at Great Millstone, who are really the prophets of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. And we're known in these days as the Great Millstone. Sirach 25 and 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, which we will have in the kingdom. And he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Yeah, and we're in the time of the fall of our enemy. That's why he's being shook up. Again, Ecclesiastes 12 and 3. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. Yeah, the keepers of the house is talking about the so-called elites. Are the rulers on the left-hand side. And the strong men shall bow themselves. Right. The military just bowed out. When you withdraw and there isn't a defeat, a resounding victory, That means that what? You bowed yourself and the grinder seats because they are few. Yeah, the economic condition is in dire straits out here, even though they like to put out that the economy was booming. Well, they have said that for the past 2 years since Trump came in. However, now what are they saying? All right, man, we're on the verge of great economic collapse. Well, they said that purchasing power is the worst since December of 1913. This is the worst December since 1913, which 1913, which should come in your mind when thinking about the economy. That's when the Fed was established. Okay. And those that look out of the windows be darkened. Yeah, it's a very grim look future for America. And everybody has that in their spirit. World witnessing unprecedented tensions and collapsed treaties with no threat of a major war, which this guy's bugged out. He thinks that, all right, we're at the height of confusion worldwide. This is unprecedented. Never before has this been seen, yet there ain't going to be a war. Collapsed international accords only lead to poor relations between countries, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov has stated, while still admitting that a major conflict is unlikely to happen. Yeah, which he's bugged out. And I'm just going to read that first part. That lets you know, because that lets you know that what? We are on the verge of war. It ain't going to be like that. Okay, it's just going to be tension building up continually, yet there's not going to be a war. And look what he said, unprecedented. And that's the spirit that's out here heavy. That spirit of this being unprecedented, never before seen. Okay, that links up with Daniel's the 12th chapter. Daniel's 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. Notice he said unprecedented, and that's what everybody says. That vibration is real heavy. Oh, this is unprecedented. This is never before seen. Why? Because we're in a time of Michael standing up to defend the elect of the nation of Israel. Such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book, which that's talking about the elect. All right, because the elect are written in the book of life. And Lord's will, we're of that number. All right, let me get the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. I'm going to end here, if it's according to my mind. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. And what's the vision? The so-called white man in America going down. It's for an appointed time, and now it's speaking and not lying. You see it plainly. You have all these nations, which is going to go into, taking up a parable against them. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Right. The just is talking about the nation of Israel, in particular the elect. And the soul which is lifted up, which is not upright in him, is talking about the so-called white man. He's lifted up with pride, and he's fallen into condemnation. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall, man. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as deaf, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Yeah, that wine is talking about his doctrine. His doctrine of inclusion of everybody. Or the whole world coming together under his authority, though. Democracy, women's rights, transgenderism. He's a proud man, proud as hell, neither keepeth at home, which is why the Iranian president said, look, it's not your job to dictate what goes on over here. Because what does he do when he's not at home? He's enlarging his desire as hell, and he's as death. Yeah, all he does is bring death and destruction. He's the harbinger of death. And that's pertaining to Planet of the Apes. And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? Which that's what the Iranian president is doing. And he's doing that consistently. He's consistently cursing out you so-called white people. in particular you so-called Americans, starting with Donald Trump and the rest of you scumbags. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. That's right, because these countries know that if the so-called white man wants to go out of his home and be in their home, it's just to do what? To increase that which is not his. It's to steal from him. He's scheming. He wants to overthrow the government. He wants to create instability amongst the people. He wants to ferment dissent within the country. So they're saying, woe unto you, destruction unto you, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, which the debt is at an all-time high worldwide. Trillions of dollars of debt. And I saw that briefly on that Dabu 777 channel. And most of the debt is where? Right here, America. Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Yeah, you're going to be spoiled by these nations. Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee. There you go. Because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. That's right. So that's why all these nations are getting at you. And in Lavrov, he can say what he wants. And well, you know what? Yeah, it is unprecedented tensions, but, you know, there's no threat of a major war. It's not up to him, man. It's not up to man. The Lord of hosts mustereth the battle, okay? Yahweh himself, he's the man of war, and he wants this war. And he's going to put it in the minds of you elites, you so-called elites, to go to war. Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Yeah, so you can have in your mind, well, look, it is bad right now, but, you know, there's going to be some peace. And what would the Lord do? He'll bring destruction. Matter of fact, I got to get that. I always do this. I say, oh, I only got one more precept. But, you know, it's not me that speaks. It's the spirit of the Father using. So 1 Thessalonians 5:3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travailed upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Which the only way this guy would say something like this is because he thinks there's going to be peace. Okay, yeah, there are collapsed peace treaties right now, such as the INF. But you know what? Hey, there's not going to be a major war. You out your mind. You think it's going to just ramp up and then what? Die down after a peace talk? For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. That's right. You're not going to be able to escape what the Lord got coming to this earth. Okay, you can try to hash it out and do this and that. The Lord has determined destruction upon this place. Matter of fact. Isaiah 14:27. For the Lord Yahweh, the power of hosts, hath proposed, and who shall disannul it? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? That's right, man. The Lord of hosts hath purpose, and who's going to disannul it? Who's going to say, nah, you can't do that? And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? Yeah, and his hand is going to be stretched upon you so-called white people, man. And you other nations. I got one more precept. Jeremiah 51:46. Unless your heart faint, and you fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Yeah, because eventually things are going to pop off. It's just a buildup right now. Like he said, it's unprecedented tension. And that unprecedented tension is going to lead to what? Unprecedented war. World War III, the nuclear war, the war to end all wars. All right, so hopefully that was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, the Wadi Al-Bashim Al-Shai, for giving me the Rakha Kodash, the Holy Spirit, to do this lesson. Shalom to the elect.